Dr. Campbell, I'm going to send you this video because I kind of really want to try and set this out to you. Also, George Galloway as well. So we've got an act of law called the Petitions, Elections, Rules 1960. The Election Petitions Rules 1960. It's actually not the rules of petitioning. It sounds misleading, doesn't it? Because if you read something that said it was the Petitions Election Rules 1960, you would think that those were the rules for all elections and petitions. But it's not. This is a good example of misleading people. The ironic thing is, if you read the 1688 Bill of Rights, the right to petition, that all commitments are illegal, then you wouldn't really be able to be held to any special procedures or commitments or rules, because it would be illegal to have any. I mean, they were meant to abolish most of the Tumultuous Petitioning Act, and a lot of the other rules they scrapped. And that's why they created this bill, really, because they were trying to charge them to petition and do other things. So it's a very misleading title, because what the Petitions and Election Rules 1960 is, it's a legal action, proceedings to challenge the results of an election. If anyone believes that they are illegitimate, there's these proceedings, right? Now, the rules for the proceedings are here. But if you had enough money, really, I don't see why you couldn't get private prosecutors or anyone to challenge the election. Or even if it's a government procedure, only if the government can only initiate these proceedings, you do have to lay evidence and have evidence. But, to claim someone, it's not, if you claimed, right, that someone had committed a crime when they hadn't, or someone had framed an election when they hadn't, and you broadcast or published it, supposedly that really would be defamation, wouldn't it? Because there is a legitimate, and even if you had evidence and it wasn't correct, it's not for the thing is, with a criminal case, right, I was charged by the police of offences when I hadn't even done them, and it wasn't even illegal what I did. It was lawful. I had the lawful right to do it, and they even brought the wrong charge. Like Angela Ditchfield, they brought criminal damage when it wasn't criminal damage. It was all facilitated for what Angela Ditchfield did, painting political advertisements under the Town and Country Planning. So they brought something which wasn't true, which was false, but they tried it through legal proceedings, right? And this is the thing. So Donald Trump really is no different to Max Hill in a way, but Trump didn't even enter or try the proceedings. And there are proceedings. When Trump's claiming that I am not a fan of Donald Trump at all whatsoever, and I do not want him to be president again, and I don't think that he ever should have been president, but you can say and even challenge with a legal process the legitimacy of elections. You can claim that it's false, that the election is illegitimate, and there's a proceeding for it, and you can even say that you don't think that it's legitimate, and you can even challenge it through these proceedings. And then if they check the evidence, and if it's decided not as legitimate, then you lose the case. You're not a criminal, so you are actually allowed to try it. This is the thing that, George Galloway is talking about, saying they won't let him talk to Putin. But if you wanted to obtain a statement from Putin as evidence and get people to support it, why we should change his foreign policy, how can they stop us? It's when it comes down to Trump's words and his own personal feelings and thoughts, it's actually all about really what Trump is saying in public about it. But surely he can say that he doesn't think something is legitimate, and then he will be allowed to challenge it in the courts. And if he lost, then he wasn't right. And then he would officially be declared through the courts as, your evidence is incorrect. Or your statement, you can even try something on a statement. This is the thing. You can even try a case on statements without actually any physical evidence. And it can be judged on the statements. So Trump's statements can be used if he doesn't think that it's legitimate. So if he says that I don't think that it's legitimate and I'm going to try it, well, why didn't he? What they're trying to do is stop Trump from even saying it in public when there's an actual legal process that he can enter, and the public platforms and the public wouldn't be judging it. It would be judged and decided through this procedure. Surely the Americans have got the equivalent of the petition election rules 1960. Now, what it all comes down to Trump is the fact that he's broadcasting and speaking about it. Now, we've got this policy that popped up about a year ago called Elections Misinformation. And this is something that YouTube conjured up. Now, YouTube is a big corporate entity, and it's taking orders from Biden. And they're in with the Biden administration, right? They brought a video out called Election Misinformation. But this is, again, another use of words like a cup and ball trick. And they love doing this like woke. Woke is meant to sound like you've woken up or you've become aware, almost like the word enlightened. But what actually woke is being used for is not enlightenment. It's people who literally don't want you to do anything at all. Anti-liberal. It's woke is that, everything, we really should literally be programmed like androids, It's not being liberal and altruistic and understanding and reflective at all. So it's not enlightened, this word woke. So what they've done with the word, conjured up the word woke, forcing people to comply and obey with things, right? This is an example of how they are changing the meaning of words to get what they want out of them. And even they don't want people to be enlightened, because when people are enlightened, they're clued in and waking up to what's going on, which is what, Verb's channel and Russell Brand, I suppose George Galloway and Dr. Campbell and Neil Oliver are trying to get people to do, become enlightened and reach enlightenment about what's happening, not become woke and take everyone's liberties away and stop them being understanding and altruistic. This is, really Bezos's Amazon empire is anti-enlightenment. It's obedience and compliance, and also surveillance as well. Now, this elections misinformation, the term they've conjured up, is a big con. It's a massive trick, because this is really what they're charging Trump with, elections misinformation. But if you're doing that, how would you even be able to challenge the legitimacy of something like an election through the petitions and election rules 1960? You wouldn't be able to claim that it's wrong and even go to court and try. And then when the court decide that you were wrong, then your case fails. But you're not a criminal. You are the plaintiff. the person who challenges it with a statement. If it fails and you are wrong, then there's no charge against you. You are just deemed as wrong. But it's decided in a court about that matter. You aren't charged with other matters yourself for wanting to try that, right? This is why you've got to be able to have freedom to, if you haven't got freedom to try or challenge something and tell people that you're going to, then it's like you wouldn't even be able to use the act. But what they're doing is they are prosecuting people for even contemplating or entertaining the idea of certain things that you can do, which is like the right to petition. You've got the right to bring a case to the government over something and have it debated. And you can talk about it yourself and get people to support it. And it's that, so that really it's petitions and elections. But they're calling it misinformation. But it's not for YouTube to decide. It's for people to decide and then to be debated through a procedure. Not back debated by Congress or Parliament before you can even raise the matter. Because if Parliament and Congress are giving out orders to YouTube to not even let you raise and collect opinion on it for debate, they're prejudging, basically. It's almost like they're prejudging. You hear petitions challenge in the court in those proceedings. No, if you can't get to those proceedings, you can't have it heard. As you're preparing the case, you don't get orders from the court as you're preparing it. Now, there is some certain things about things being eligible for submission to be laid and so forth, but even then, that's when you submit it, not in preparation and so forth. And with petitioning is a legal process that is not like a criminal or civil proceeding. It is an existing legal process where the jury are first approached. It is an inside-out court where a jury are approached first and asked the question freely. Then they choose to support it or not, the truth, whether they believe it's true or not. And then it gets debated after. It's a different order. Now, what this elections misinformation really is, if you watch the video, is its intervention. It's intervention and obstruction. Obstruction of the democratic process. It is any obstruction, hindrance, or disruption, or preventing people from engaging in or speaking freely about democratic process, right? And this democratic process, they even say you're not allowed to use YouTube to disrupt democratic process, right? For example, tell someone a polling station, or stop them going into a polling station, or tell them that somewhere, But what YouTube are doing themselves is they are intervening in the democratic process by not letting you on their platform or taking things down, right? They are doing it. YouTube are themselves intervening in democratic process by end users accessing advertising, accessing communication with other citizens on matters that will be put to the jury first before going to debate. And they know that. And in order to trick you and remove knowledge and understanding and liability about what they are doing, what Biden and the government are telling them to do illegally, election obstruction, they've changed the word elections, petitions, obstruction to misinformation. So it doesn't sound or look like they're obstructing you, and it doesn't look like they're illegally taking your things down and removing them when they are. When you've got freedom of the press, freedom of petition through free speech, through publishing to the major newspapers, which is why they were created, all rights reserved. There's a section, an area of publishing in the main press, not private books, in things that are for the public to read and use, and stories, public stories, anything that's free ads, you have a right reserved for political rights. And YouTube is it is equal to the free ads and equal to the press, because anyone can read, and anyone is meant to be able to upload. It doesn't discriminate about who can have an account. It can't really between men and women, because and this is the trick. This is the big Biden. Well, Trump's in on it. The Republicans and the Democrats are lying. Trump and Biden. And it's this big word con, because you can't have elections misinformation, because you are trying something in a legal process which will be decided through that legal process, not by anyone else outside it. And you can use things to bring it, which is the press, freedom of the press for that process, and anything else, speaking to people. And they're trying to con you on this. If you add elections misinformation, means that you don't have the right to petition on any subject, any topic or matter. It also on federal question, which is you're trying to establish facts on something. Civil cases can have established facts and truth on something. So you have to be able to put the question, federal question. But elections and petitions can be a question. So you have to be able to question the public from all sides. So you can't have election misinformation, because the process is for debating and deciding the information, whether it is mis or not. And you have to be able to use YouTube for that, from both sides and the press. So the term elections misinformation is a trick. You can't have it. It's actually illegal. That's illegal. The word and term elections misinformation is illegal for YouTube to have it. Paul Groves. I challenge Paul Groves in the Supreme Court that he is directing YouTube's legal. The word elections misinformation is illegal. The word. Because it's election intervention when you watch it. When you watch what their video's about, it's about intervention and obstruction, which is what YouTube are doing. And they know that. And in order to lie to us, like they lie about hundreds of thousands of videos that get pulled down, which don't have anything in them at all regarding the claims, they're lying. This is a con. But we see it even in the petitions, elections rules, because they're making it sound like these are the rules for petitions and elections when they're not. It's a special method to challenge them. You can't really have any rule. They put the right to petition put an end to all these rules, because they were trying to charge people money to do it, submit them. They were trying to have, a grand jury before, when it's the people themselves who are signing it in the first place. They're trying every trick in the book. And that the right to petition was supposed to completely and totally protect it from all corruption from the government. Who would do? It's not the people. It isn't the actual people themselves who are the criminals. The only parties that the Bill of Rights is there to prevent doing things like this to us is stayed in it. Who would be the perpetrators of the evil people in something that would subvert the liberties of the realm? It says judges, ministers, and councillors. And this is what Biden is doing, and Trump. They're subverting the liberties. But Trump can challenge the election and even speak about it. Why does he just get his lawyers to do the American equivalent of the election petitions rules? And he can tell people that he doesn't believe that they're legitimate. So all he has to do is get a statement and his evidence and go to court. And if he loses, he's lost. But that doesn't mean that he can't talk about it or get people to support it or even sign petitions on what they think. You can't stop that. Is a topic, a subject. I'm getting sick of Biden now and YouTube. They're telling us that we are doing things wrong because they don't actually want there to be a possible real chance of them themselves being removed from the government by the people. We actually need some lawyers who are going to actually, and this is what the whole thing that Marianne Williamson and Robert F. Kennedy are doing legitimately through the political process. Because if they get into presidency, they are going to stop all this corruption. It's Biden and Trump and the American government, the ministers, the judges, not us. Because whether we're right or wrong, we will decide. We will decide, not a platform. The platform is to be used for us to decide. The press is to be used for us to decide. Both sides. And even if you want to claim that day's night and night's day, you can still vote on it and have the dictionary word changed, which is what they're doing. If you wanted to change the word from day to night and night to day, and they know that that's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, if everyone says it's day when it's night time, we'll have to change the word in the dictionary. And they know that all the cognitive function behind all this is what it comes down to. And that is what they've done. They've changed the word from elections, interventions to misinformation. You can't have the misinformation because you've got to be able to bring the information to argue and debate and try it fairly and openly, not have it obstructed. So it is like a night and day and day and night. Can the public all sign to say day is night and night is day and then change the meaning? And that is ultimately what it comes down to and what they're doing to prevent us from accessing that debate from either side.